Great, thank you very much. Okay, good morning, everybody. It's the 17th of August, and we're here for a further session on Blackboard. Today's session is on Blackboard Gradebook. We're going to start by thinking about workflow. We won't cover everything in the Gradebook today, and so it's really important for you to be comfortable with the general workflows in the new Blackboard Gradebook. So that you can use that sort of design fluency in situations, unfamiliar situations that you might get yourself into once you start getting into the weeds of how the tool works. We'll talk a little bit around how you can configure the gradebook to have a slightly more streamlined experience, find the data that you want, take action on the data you want, and also operate in different modalities, based on the unique way in which your course works. And we'll look at how we can use the gradebook to monitor students as well and make your life a little bit easier. So those are kind of the high-level outcomes for today's session. And what we'll do now is we'll jump straight into the gradebook tool in a live course on my environment anyway, here in Blackboard. What I'm going to do is share the screen here. If we need to go back to the student view at any point, then we can certainly do that. But I'm going to keep it nice and simple for the most part. Okay, so here we are in my music composition course. And by now you know that the gradebook is available here on the course menu. And so that's where you can start your grading right off the bat here. Just checking the chat. I saw a message. Okay, no worries. Okay, let me just close that a second. Okay, so this is the new gradebook in Blackboard. I'm going to come back to this in just a moment. We'll explain what's going on here, the different types of view, the way you can filter data. But just before we do that, just to remind you that you can actually conduct grading right from the base navigation as well. So first of all, from the activity page, if there are any items to grade, the workflow for grading can actually start right here on the activity page. You can jump straight into to that. You just tap the grading icon, it'll bring you straight into the gradebook. And so if you're trying to identify the hot places within Blackboard, the hot places within your courses to intervene, to take action, to grade, you can do that from the activity page. Grading workflows can also start from the grades tool on base navigation. You can see here that there's nothing to grade in the astronomy course that I'm enrolled on. There is one item here that I need to post to grade. So if you prefer, you can start the grading workflows right here within the base navigation menu. And this gives you a 50,000-foot view of all of your different courses. This is the course we're going to be focusing on today. And if I tap any of these items, it's going to take me into the gradebook for that particular item. It's a deep link into this particular assignment and all the items that need to be graded. So that's one way in which to grade your work in Blackboard. You can start right from the back of from the top, if you like, in base navigation. And then when you click through on any of these given students, it's going to open the flexible grading interface with students on your left, assessments in the middle, and feedback and rubric on the right. This is the flexible grading interface. So that's one way to approach the gradebook. But for most of us, we're going to open the course that we want to do grading in. We're going to notice that on the gradebook course menu, the word gradebook is there, and a badge indicating a number of items. This could be work that needs to be graded. It could be work that needs to be posted. There might be other states of grading that require attention. That badge draws your attention quickly to action that needs to be taken. Now, let's explain what's going on here in the new grading interface. First of all, on the left-hand side, you can see a switch that enables you to move between two ways of viewing the data. This view here is the grid view. It's like a spreadsheet. You have rows and you have columns. Your columns are your different assessments or your different gradebook items. Your rows are your students. If we tap the list view, those of you that have been in Ultra before, you'll be familiar with this view. The benefit of this view is that it works better on a mobile device. So if you imagine me holding my phone, it's a landscape view. It doesn't work that very well with a complex rows and columns spreadsheet, if you like. So this view is quite handy if you're on a mobile device. And the workflow operates a little bit similar to what we've just seen before. You can tap on any given assignment. So like there's 3 to grade here, for example, on the Module 1 Music Harmony assignment. If I tap on that, it brings me into the assignment. I can see the content and settings. I can see the student activity, and I can see the submissions. This is a view of the gradebook. It's a filtered view of the gradebook just for the Module 1 Music Harmony assignment. And then when I tap on any of these given students, it's going to take me back into the flexible grading interface, students on the left, submission in the middle, and feedback and rubric on the right. Let's come out of that a second, go back to the list view. So the benefit of this view is that it works better on a mobile device. Secondly, it does highlight quite obviously where I need to focus my attention. In the grid view, there's some purple there's some purple dots here which grab my attention, but it's not immediately apparent where my attention is perhaps best placed. And so this really summarizes all of the gradebook data for me and helps me to focus on the things that need my immediate attention. The other benefit of this view is that you can use these buttons here on the right-hand side to move columns around. So if you want this assignment we created the other day in a previous workshop, if you want that at the top, you click on the double-headed arrows, drag up, wait for a space, let go, and now that's at the top. So you can't reorganize your gradebook items in this view here. It's just a big spreadsheet. You can't cut and paste columns like you can in Excel. This is how you reorganize your gradebook. And more or less, this is the view that students will see. Let's jump into student preview to remind ourselves what students see of the gradebook. Let's go to the gradebook tab for this student. Okay, so you can see now a list view of the gradebook. Naturally, it's just showing me my gradebook data, but it's in the same sequence vertically as our list view in the instructor view. And so that's one of the other advantages of the list view is that you're seeing more or less what students will see on their end in terms of the vertical sequence and the order of assessments within the course. We'll come out of student preview now and go back to the instructor view. Okay, so those are the main benefits of the list view. In either view, you have 2 items on the right-hand side here, which again help you in focusing on what needs attention. So before, if you've played with Ultra before in Blackboard, you'll have remembered that one of the other views we had on the left-hand side here was the needs attention view, or needs grading as it used to be called in legacy Blackboard. This has now been placed under a single panel called the to-do panel. It's here, and it's here as well on the grid view. We tap the to-do panel, and there are 3 potential categories here: grading, posting, and reconciling. So reconciling isn't shown in my course at the moment because I'm not a designated grader on a assessment which requires multiple grading. But if I was, I would see a 3rd category here: needs grading, needs posting, and need reconciling. In my course, there are just items to grade and items to post. Okay, so this makes sense of all of this different student data, all of these different columns and items and all the different things going on here. Makes sense of it all and helps me just to focus on the things that I need to do right now at a course level. If I tap into one of these actions that need to be addressed, it brings me into the flexible grading interface for that particular assessment, and I can make a start on grading the student work. So we've seen that there are three different workflows. One is to start grading from base nav. One is to start grading from using the list view. And one is, irrespective of which view you're using, is to use the to-do panel to focus on things that most need your attention, whether that's grading, posting, or reconciling. One of the things you're going to notice in this new workflows is that Ultra remembers where you last left off. This concept is a UX design principle, and it's designed to operate a little bit like the way your phone operates. If I'm on my phone and I'm in the email app and I scroll down and then I switch out of my email app and I go into my Photos app and I scroll down and I find a picture that I want to look at. When I then switch back into my email app, it shouldn't reload the full email app. It will pick up visually precisely where I left off. And Ultra now does this in the Gradebook. Let's say, for example, I'm looking at my module 2, creating a genre presentation. If I was to come out of this course and then go back in again and then reload the Gradebook, it picks up where I left off. So if I have to drop my computer at some point and go and run errands, and when I log back into Blackboard, I want to pick up precisely in the Gradebook where I left off. Blackboard now does that for me, reducing the friction, really, of me using the tool, helping me just to get down to business and focus on the things that need to be focused on. So a lot of the workflow improvements that we've made in Blackboard here are really designed to reduce friction. Even moving around here in the Gradebook is a lot easier now with this new improved Gradebook. Any questions so far? Just stopping to see the chat. Oh, there's an echo. Is that still happening, Joan? Yeah, are other people hearing that echo?
No. I have a question. I have different categories of assignments, some of them, and I named them like assignments, homeworks, and something. What if I want to focus Gradebook just on certain type of assignments, like homeworks? Can I do that?
Absolutely, yes, you can do that. So, in these views, we have different capabilities as it pertains to filtering and segmenting the view. The kinds of filtering that you're looking for are available in the grid view. And on the right-hand side of the search tool, I mean, I could just do a search for, a particular assignment, module 2, for example. And when I do that, it's just going to focus in on that one column and remove all of the other distractions. So that's one way of filtering. But the other way to filter is to use this configuration tool here. And this will allow me to just focus on just the quizzes, for example. And when I do that, it applies a quiz chip into the filters here. I could pick particular students as well. And in that case, it filters based on individual students. And if at any point I want to remove any of these chips, I just tap on the little cross icon, and gradually the data that I'm working with, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller until eventually, I've completed that particular task. So you can use the different filters in this tool here to narrow down the data set you're working with. Um, the to-do tool is designed to help you focus on more generic workflows. But if you need advanced filtering, that's where this comes in really handy. Okay, Alex?
Yes,
John,
thank you. Thank you.
John, I am sorry to hear you're still hearing that. Um, Pat said not anymore. Alex said he's not hearing an echo. Are other people still hearing an echo? I can try and change microphones, but I don't know whether that will help it, Joan. I wonder if it's possibly something on your computer, maybe.
Depends if someone's logged in two different places. Sometimes you get that reverb. But there's also that. So you just got to be
Mm,
careful you're not logged in twice because sometimes if you log in on your computer with Zoom, it gives
mm.
you like two options to either log in from the Zoom application or also from the browser. But if you're logged in on both of them at the same time, then it's going to sound like if there's an echo because technically
Yeah,
you're logged in twice.
logged in twice.
Yeah.
Is that possible, Joan? Is that a possible cause, do you think? Let's double check that you're not logged in twice. I'm only logged in once, so um, hopefully that will sort things out. Um, just before I finish that conversation about filtering, one of the things you can't see in my gradebook here, but it's worth mentioning, is the section filter. So if you're working in a course that has a master course and a child section, multiple sections, as well as the gradable items filter at the bottom of the bottom of this tool here, you will also see a section filter, and you'll be able to filter just down to the course that you want to, that cohort that you want to focus on. So you don't see it in my course. I'm not using the sections course here, but you will see that here as well. Now, let's have a look. Marjorie said, how can we download the gradebook? Great question. So depending on what you want to do, you can download individual columns by tapping on the column heading, and you'll see here a button to download submissions, results, and the rubric report. All of those items can be downloaded on an item by item basis. But you can also download the gradebook by tapping on the settings icon here. And if we go to upload and download gradebook, we can download the grades. When we do that, we get options in terms of whether it's just a single item we want to download, whether we want the grade history to be downloaded. So your options for downloading are in the settings area, and your options for uploading any graded data are here as well. Tap upload, and you'll get the option to drag and drop a CSV file or an Excel file to update the items that you've made adjustments offline. Okay, so that was a settings icon. And scroll down to upload and download gradebook. Okay, Marjorie?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Can the gradebook list by date of submission? Let's have a look. What can we do around that? I don't believe that is something that we can do. Trying to see if you can do it in this view here. Oh yeah, due date. Yeah. So if you come to the list view, then you can do an ascending or descending sort for items with due dates. So the perhaps the easier way, if you're trying to make large vertical adjustments, let's say I wanted to move the Nicole, wait, if I wanted to move this item all the way down, perhaps the easiest way to do it is to use the tab key. So if I press the tab key on my keyboard, as I move around the gradebook, Eventually, it's going to give me an opportunity to focus on an item like, for example, this item here. And you should be able to, he says, unless we've changed that in this new version, you should be able to. So it used to be possible to activate that move key with the keyboard, that move icon with the keyboard, but it doesn't appear to be doing it here. Let me just check in Safari whether I can do that in Safari. Just give me a second. I'm just trying in a separate window here. You can't see what I'm doing.
I appreciate, thank you. I know in the past you used to be able to like click on the arrow and it would let you go up multiple at a time, but I know that's a little bit different than what's here, the up and down arrows. But I appreciate, I'm sorry.
No, yeah. You definitely used to be able to use the keyboard, which you can do in you can do that in the content outline. So these grab handles are for mouse clickers, but if you press the tab key, it lassos around the grab handle. You then press the space bar, and then you can move it around using your keys. It's super easy, and you can be very prescriptive about where you want to place that. So that's super easy. Press the space bar to drop it back down again, and you should be able to do that with the Gradebook as well. So I might need to get back to Tara about that because you definitely used to be able to do it, but from what I can see, it's like the focus tabbing has been broken. So whether we possibly need to do a reverse on that, because it definitely in the previous version of the Gradebook you could do that. So I'll find out what the situation is on that and update Tara.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Another question: could you move multiple items as a group, or you have to move each one individual?
No, you can't move multiple items.
You rearranged your course, and now the module that was at the beginning, now it's somewhere down, and you want to move all the assignments related to that module.
Yeah. No, you can't move items as a group, Alex. So your options for moving are presently to use this drag and drop cursor here.
So there is no multi-select in the UI.
No multi-select for bulk edit or bulk movement. No.
Okay, thank you.
All right. There was a question about item analysis, which is a great question. So item analysis can be done in the workflow for that is very varied depending on where you're at. We could place item analysis in one place, and then irrespective of how cumbersome it is for you to have to go to that place to find the item analysis, you have to just go to that place. Instead, in Ultra, item analysis is typically wherever you are. So let's say you're in the content outline, you're in module 2, and you want to look at, oh, I accidentally clicked on something there. You want to look at the data that's behind this assessment here. So you can just click on the 3 dots and you can click on student activity, and you can start to look at the data that we have on this particular assessment, the assessment behaviors, whether there's any correlation between time spent in the assessment and the grade or not. And then you can download the data and you can do cohort by cohort comparisons and so on and so forth. But you can also access the data inside of the Gradebook. So we could go to the same assignment, the module 2 create a genre representation. We can tap the 3 dots here and we can go to statistics to look at the actual grade statistics for that column. Or we can go into the actual assignment in the item view, sorry, the grid view. So if we go to module 2 here, and we tap that column header, we have the submissions, here, statistics report over here on the right-hand side. And then when you're in the submissions view, and you've got the flexible grading interface up, you are able to see the individual submissions from individual students or groups. So yeah, different places to get the data wherever it kind of makes sense for you, based on your present location. Okay. Can it list the assignments quizzes as the students submit them in chronological lists? The students submit them. In a sense, that is kind of what the to-do panel is designed to do. Okay, so it shows you the oldest graded, the oldest ungraded item. This is going to bring together the assessments as they accumulate in the order in which they accumulate them, and help you to identify which items to focus on first based on the data that's available to you here in the to-do panel. So I think that's probably the in terms of the use case you're describing, Pat, I think that's the way we think of that in terms of sequencing. Okay. All right. Now we've been jumping around in different places. Let's step back a little bit and just take some time to familiarize ourselves with everything that's going on here in this UI. I've already been tapping in to these column headings in the Gradebook, and we've been noticing that when we do that, we get this peak panel of metadata on the right-hand side. So we'll come back to that and look at that in a minute. Underneath each column, when you hover over the title of each column, you'll get a tooltip which expands to represent the full title of the assessment. So if I hover over this one, for example, which I can't see what it is, but I can see, it's Module 2, create a genre presentation. So when you hover over, you get a hover state which shows you the full title of the assessment. And you can tap the sort icon next to the title in order to sort the submissions for that particular assessment by that item. So in this case, we're sorting Module 2, and we're looking at items where we want to preference Module 2 based on no grade, based on submitted and graded work, or going back to this state, toggling it for the third time to go back to the view of the Gradebook that is representing data basically by student name as the preference. Okay. Underneath the module title, there are a couple of icons. This one, that tells me that I've got items to grade. Okay. This one I've got 10 items to grade. This one I've got 3 items to grade. And if we scroll down on this module 1 assignment, we can see that there's a purple dot against student 12. There's a purple dot against student 2, which is a bit ironic because there's a, and there's a purple dot against student 3. So in other words, the 3 items to grade have corresponding purple icons next to the student names, which rolls up into this total badge of 13. When you add in the 10 from over here and the 3 from here, you get 13 items to grade. We also have a paper plane icon, and this is indicative of items to post. So not all these items have been posted. If you scroll down, you can see that a number of the students have grades against their work, but not all items have been posted. And this would correspond with the 14 items over here in the to-do pane. So yes, 13 items need grading. That's primarily what needs our attention. And that corresponds with the 13 in the badge on the Gradebook. But there is also one other item that needs our attention, and that's this needs posting, which comes from our Module 2 assignment, where one of the items has been graded but not posted. Okay, so it's important to understand these icons that sit underneath the module, the assessment title, the item title. Okay, now as we scroll down, you'll notice that a pencil icon appears that allows us then to tap into any one of these columns and make manual adjustments. Whereas if I tap on any given cell, let's say, for example, this cell here, I can't put anything into that cell. What it does is it opens a peek pane showing me metadata that's relevant to that student, Westminster Student 1, and that assignment. And you can see that corresponding information here in the peek pane. So in actual fact, to put a manual grade in that cell, you have to hover over the top of the column, tap the pencil icon, and then you can put your manual grade in. So I can put 20 in and press enter on my keyboard. Now this is a group assignment, and although I can't see the group segmentation from the grid view of the gradebook, Blackboard knows that this is a group assignment, and so it's asking me whether I want to assign this grade to everyone or just to the individual. Okay, so that it's caught that part of the workflow for me, and it's flagging that this is actually a group assignment. I'm going to cancel, and we're going to return back to the edit view of this particular assessment. Once I've made my changes, I need to scroll back up to the top and press the check mark, and now it returns to the view of the gradebook that allows me to tap on any given cell and bring up a peek pane where I can get additional data. Okay. What does the purple dot need next to the 30 mean for student 12? Purple dot, good question. I think it's probably that it's a multiple. If we take a look at the metadata, we'll probably see why. Final grade is an average, so it suggests that you can take it multiple times, although it doesn't actually tell us that here. So if we go into the assessment, sorry, I forgot the name, Michael. If we go into the assessment, Michael, and we look at the content settings, we can see that there are unlimited attempts. So what it means is that student 12 on a previous attempt got 30, or at least that's the average. Yeah, that's the average of all of the previous attempts. But in actual fact, there's been a subsequent attempt that therefore requires me to grade the student's work. Great question. Okay, so I don't know whether we actually called that out yet, but what Pat has just pointed out is that the purple icon is indicative of, yes, that's right, we mentioned that just a moment ago, indicative of work that needs to be graded. So at any given point, I can tap into either I can tap into the column heading and then tap the assessment heading here to go into the flexible grading interface. So tap the submissions here. Actually, no, I did that wrong. Grade. Tap the grade button. So sorry, tapping the assessment title takes me into the content settings for that assessment. Tapping the grade button brings me into the flexible grading interface, which is what I expected to see. Students, assessment, and the feedback and the rubric. Okay. Alternatively, for student 12, for example, we could tap on the individual student. We could tap view submission. We can see there's a new submission. It's clearly marked here. It's written here for me. Tap view submission, and that again brings me into the gradable into flexible grading interface and shows me this student's most recent submission, which I don't think this has been graded. Yeah, the essay hasn't been graded. So this has all been graded, but automatically, but this has not been graded. This requires feedback and a grade here. So I can put that in here. 1 out of 1, press enter. And then now that's updated. And if I wanted to, it's automatically posted because there's a previous grade that's been posted. Okay. So you can tap into any one of these given cells and address things on a piece by piece, on a more piecemeal basis. But the to-do pane is over here to help you take care of this, in a more streamlined fashion You can work however you like. If you find it more streamlined to do it on a more piecemeal basis, that's absolutely fine as well. So, stepping back, so we've explained the title of the column, what that is designed to do, and how you can sort by submissions. We've explained what these icons represent. We've explained how you edit manually the cells in the assessment item, and how you confirm those changes with the tick icon. We've shown that tapping on the module, the item header brings up this metadata, and there are a couple of things here which are quite useful. First of all, there is the ability, as we've seen, to go into the assessment and look at the content settings. Remind yourself as a grader what this is designed to do. Perhaps bring up the rubric, check that you're comfortable with the grading criteria, etc., etc. But underneath this, we have view submissions and postal grades, which are all, there's no surprises there. But there are some new features here underneath, represented by 3 icons. There's the bell icon, and when you tap that, it asks you whether you want to send a reminder to students who have not made submissions. And there are 2 students who have not made submissions. And so with 2 clicks, I can complete in a very streamlined fashion a task that would have typically required a lot of extra effort on my part. So I can just tap send, and that sends those reminders to students to nudge them to make their submissions. Next along, we have a drop down which, depending on whether you've got results or not, will show results. We have some results for this column, so I can see results, but you won't see that obviously for example, you wouldn't see it for this column here. There are no results yet, so you won't see that. So don't be upset if you don't see that. There are no results to show you. Whereas this column, we have results, and so we can download submissions or results for this particular assessment. And then finally, over on the right-hand side here, just 1 item. There's a bit of a redundant click here, but there will be more items probably coming underneath this drop down. This is statistics report, which we showed earlier, where you can start to see real time the median standard deviation for this assessment. In this particular course, I don't really have enough data to calculate standard deviation or variance, but as the sample size increases, you can make more sense of this data. And if you see any real howlers in the data, then you take action on it in case there is possibly something wrong with the way that it's been designed and developed. You've got all of this additional metadata underneath the assessment pane, including things like whether the student has any exemptions or exceptions. And if we tap on, if we go down the list and we look at student, this one here, what we'll see underneath the accommodations section, we expand it, is that this student has course level, date, and time accommodations. And that's represented by the little purple ribbon against the student's name. So you can see that whenever you're doing grading, you know this particular student has those course level accommodations, which can be extended further by adding these extensions here if needed. Okay. The question, can it limit the number of attempts based on if the first attempt was submitted on time? Attempts is first attempt on time. So if they submit on time, you don't want to give them any more attempts. Is that what you're saying, Pat? Oh no, the opposite. If my course, oh, I see. If they submit late, then no more attempt. That's a good question. I don't know off the top of my head whether that's possible. Let's go back to module 1. This one. think it was this one where we had, no, that was 3 attempts. Okay, well, let's just see if you can. Yeah, I don't know that, but you can do that, Pat. So let me make a note of that, and I'll see if there's any. What's the pedagogical outcome you're trying to achieve? Manually regrade. Yes, I think so. So pedagogically, what are you trying to achieve in that workflow? I'm just going to make a note of this in my notepad. CCRI, that's Coldwell. I'm trying to determine if they benefit from feedback. Okay, that's interesting. I guess from my perspective, I think, yeah, okay. Interesting use case. I'll have a chat with some colleagues, see if there's any ways we can achieve that in a roundabout way. If not, if there's not a feature for it, I'll have a conversation. I suspect I'll probably get pushback, and they'll say, well, from a pedagogical perspective, I probably would be giving all the students feedback, but I understand your especially if you've got a policy around that. I totally understand where you're coming from. So let me get back to you on that. Pat, I'll raise that with some of my colleagues and see what they come up with. Marjorie says, do we need to set course accommodations for students? That typically happens, Marjorie, through your student information system integrations. Tara can clarify whether that's policy that Coldwell have. Typically it will be done by the data that's coming through from the SAS. Yeah. And then Megan says, for exam, can you go item by item for an analysis rather than just an overview of the stats as you could in your Blackboard? Like question by question, or do you mean item by item?
Yeah, question by question. It used to be that it would give you
yeah.
like the overview of, good question, poor question, can I calculate? Those were like kind of how it broke it down. So what I'm seeing from here is, I know it's a presentation versus an exam that you're using as an example, but what I'm seeing is just like a general overview of the statistics, whereas
Yeah.
I would need it more question to question.
Yeah, no, that's a great clarification. So I think I showed you the module statistics for module 2, I think it was this one here. That's highlighting these high level trends. But if we go to a quiz like the module 1 harmony quiz, and we bring up the drop down here, you get the report on the question analysis. Now, again, this is going to the veracity, the efficacy, or veracity possibly is a word, I'm not sure. One of those two words of this data is going to depend on your sample size. But this will show you things like discrimination and difficulty. It will allow you to regrade questions that you identify as problem childs that need to be fixed. It will allow you to do regrading as well. It's not loading at the moment. There we go. It took a little while. So yeah, you'll get all the data you need. I wouldn't trust this at all at this stage because we've only had 13 attempts, so it's quite a small number. But yeah, it's shouting at me. It's saying a lot of these questions need to be reviewed. They're not trustworthy questions. So you can open the question, you can edit the assessment, you can regrade, just like you did in the legacy version of Blackboard.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. So just to recap, tap on the assessment heading, the column heading. To open the metadata pane, then you'll get question analysis under the list of reports for that item. Okay.
Is it the same? Is it the same that we will see in the analytics tab?
It is. Yes. Yes. So if you go to the Analytics tab, you can get question analysis for all of your quizzes and tests. You can run that report at your leisure. Yeah. Okay. So we've talked about the metadata for the individual assessment, but there's also metadata for the individual student as well. So if we tap on a cell for any given assessment and student, we get this preview pane where we can start to work our way through individual cells, item by item, student by student. And you've got these navigation buttons here to allow you to move cell by cell through the gradebook to look at the data. As we're moving through, we see different metadata depending on which assessment we're looking at. And we see different metadata based on which student we're looking at as we're going up and down the cells. Part of this is to make it easier for keyboard users, but actually you may find yourself using these buttons yourself as well, especially if you're working on a smaller screen. As you do that, you're able to identify actions that you can take. So view the submission, post the individual grade. If we tap post individual grade, that's going to submit that grade into the student's gradebook so they can actually view it on their end. If we open submission details, we're going to see things like, how was this assessment set up? When did the student submit? Was it a group submission? What the receipt number was? How big the attachment was that they uploaded as part of their submission, and so on and so forth. If we want to make notes behind the scenes between us and other graders, we can add those into the grading notes area. That will only be seen by those people who have permission to access the gradebook and access the grading notes. And we'll even drop video in here as well if we feel that's appropriate. For something like music composition, it might be appropriate to add an audio file as part of your grading feedback. And then we've seen this already on the bottom of this list of metadata here. We can take actions to either exempt the student or to add extensions, and to give an additional attempt if this student is needed. So if this student is entitled to an additional attempt. So all those actions which are classified basically under the accommodations concept, they're all available at the bottom of the metadata pane for any given student that you're working with at any point. So lots of data here, and the fact as well that this has memory. This design has memory. Means that whenever we go somewhere else in the course and come back, it's always going to pick up where we left off. And it just saves us a few clicks here and there, but over the course of a semester, you'll be saving thousands and thousands of clicks, and it should hopefully make things a little more streamlined, a little less friction involved for you. Pat says, in addition to Megan's question, is there a way to determine which students were given specific items? You might also have a large bank of questions and they're randomly given to students. So that may be available in the flexible grading interface, which I haven't spent much time focusing on today. We've been going in and out a bit because this is the main thing that's changed in Ultra just recently. But if we go through to the Module 1 quiz, this one, and we open the grade panel, this will bring up the flexible grading interface. And I think, Pat, your question is about this here, which students were given specific items. So obviously at this level here, you can determine whether there were any differences, and you can see that student 8 was their first question was which of the following is a common modulation technique, whereas student 9 was given what is counterpoint in music composition. I don't know whether you're looking possibly for a more abstracted view of that, where you can sort of see at a glance. I don't know how many different questions, what the difference in order was, but you can certainly see in this view the differences without having to sort of, come out of this student and go into another student, and then come out of that student, go back to the student. All the students are here. and you can use these buttons as well as this view over here to move through the students, so that if you've got a really small screen or you're wanting to focus on giving feedback, you can collapse that panel and easily move through the students. And each time you do that, you're getting this sense of, different students were given different questions. So that hopefully address all the items on one page. Interesting. So you're wanting to see all of the questions and then how many of those questions were given to, so let's say, for example, what is counterpoint in music composition? How many students were given that question? And then how many students were given this question? Is that, it's almost like the inverse of what I'm saying here, perhaps. Oh, I think. So if we go back to an item analysis again, so that, it doesn't tell you how many students got that question. I mean, it does say 13, which I think that is how many students got questions. So that's telling you how many students got the question. I'm still not quite sure whether we're quite getting to. I want to see which items were given, who answered correctly, incorrectly as part of the announcement. Okay, yeah. So you're not seeing at this level. Let's go into the individual question. Number of student responses. So you're not seeing which students responded, but you are seeing the number of student responses for each question in that quiz. It's almost, I think, what you're wanting, but it's not showing you which students actually, you can't click into this for here and see which students actually had that question. I think that's probably what you're looking for, right? You want to click on the number and say, yeah, okay, interesting. So no, I don't think it does that at the moment. You can see it the other way around from the flexible grading interface, but in the item analysis, I don't think we have that ability to drill down any further into which students completed that. Let's just click Edit Assessment and see. That's just overall behavior. It's not item level. It's not question level. So no, I don't think we've got that, Pat. Not in the item analysis as it stands today, anyway. Number of attempts, yeah, and then just how many students took that question and what option they went for. Yeah. Okay. Some good questions. Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And if you've got, particularly if there's a consensus around a specific direction that you want the product to go in, we have a tool called the Blackboard Ideas Exchange, where you can sort of flag these things with the broader team. Just looking back at questions. Can items be grouped for a subtotal grade? Absolutely. So let me just make sure I covered everything off here in this interface. I think we have. We've dealt with to do, dealt with filtering. This is useful, particularly if you've got students who've got names that sound like first names. The default sorting order is last name, first name, but you may find it sometimes useful to reverse that, just so that you don't, in feedback, you don't accidentally give somebody whose name is Lloyd George. You don't call him George because his last name is the first name is the first thing you see on this page. You might think, oh, this is George, and it's actually Lloyd. So that can be useful to avoid that faux pas. We talked about uploading and downloading the Gradebook. This is not new. If you're completely new to Ultra, then you won't have seen this before, but this is where you manage your grade schemas. So I think we can probably talk a little bit about this is categories as well. A lot of the things you can't see, you'll know this in Ultra now. If you're looking for settings that you can't see immediately in this view here, to do with the overall gradebook workflow and processing, you're going to find them under the settings icon. So we've got things like grade categories, which Alex was mentioning earlier. We were able to filter by those grade categories. You can add those. Rubrics are currently they live here. They get aligned with individual assessments, but they live in the gradebook. And overall grade notations for students that drop out of the course, for example, they can be created in here to aberrate, to augment the schema that you might have in the course. If you want to perform multiple actions on multiple items, I said earlier that you couldn't do that, and we were talking about the use case of moving items. This unfortunately doesn't allow you. It would be the ideal place to achieve what Alex described earlier, where you could select multiple items and say, move down by 10 or something. You can't do that here. But what you can do is you can do bulk edits on categories and visibility. And visibility can be done from the content area anyway, but category adjustments need to be done here in the gradebook. So you can adjust that category setting here, and visibility is just really for ease of gradebook management. If there are some calculated columns, for example, that most instructors don't need to see as part of their everyday workflow, you got the option, the luxury here to change those. Which brings us nicely on to Megan's question. No, Marjorie's question about subtotals. So up until now, what we've been looking at in the gradebook, these are all assessments that we built in Blackboard, and with the exception of the overall grade, there's something mathematical going on here. But we can add items of our own kind here to the gradebook that will allow us to do some sort of karate magic on the data, to bring together assessments, do averages on them, and all that kind of stuff. That can all be done here from within the gradebook. If I want to add a total calculation where we add these items up, I can put here Lloyd's total, and you've got two options, points or weighted. In either case, you see beneath the calculation type, you see all of the categories in the gradebook, and inside those categories, if we tap this little accordion icon here, we see all of the individual items that are tagged with that category. If at any point you want to nuance the specific weighting or the value, the points, the accumulation of the total points possible for a given assessment within that category, you can actually unlink an item by tapping the chain icon, and that pulls out the category and allows you to treat it in a different way. Tapping the chain icon again will put it back in the category. Clicking this icon here will exclude that item from the calculation. And so you can see as we do that, the points value for the overall category, it reflects the reduction of the total points possible for the Module 2 assessment. So a lot more to be said about this particular tool here, but this is where you perform your manual total calculations. And when you're happy with what you've built in here, you can then make this visible to students if you want them to be able to do the same math automatically that you're doing. Otherwise, you leave it as a back office column for your own purposes, so that you can sort of segment your students within this particular calculation in the way that you want to do so. either way, you always need to make sure that the math adds up. So if we go to a weighted calculation, it's going to proportion in order to achieve 100% of the points possible, which I think we said it was 129, wasn't it? Yeah, 129. It's going to apportion, in this case, an equal proportion of the points possible to each category. And again, you can do the same thing if you want to adjust the weighting for any given assignment because you're not happy with its proportion. You can unlink that item and pull it out and give it a greater or smaller proportion. If you want to exclude an item, again, you can exclude an item, and the other items in that category will share now the remaining percentage that you've given at the category level. So the math is pretty much done for you, always to achieve a 100% weighting, 100% mathematically of the 129 points possible. And you can even adjust the type of weighting to either a proportional weighting, where we can see that we're given 12.5% for each category, or equally, so that irrespective of the points possible given for any one of these individual assignments, we simply treat them we simply treat them the same. We don't do it in a proportional way. It ignores the highs and lows that you might get potentially with an assignment that has an inordinate effect on the proportion of the weighting in any given category. So that's the total calculation. You can, if we save that and we tap the cross icon, you can now see that Lloyd's total is here. And you can see that a schema is being applied to that column. But you can also add calculations as well, which make use of a kind of Excel kind of like formula builder. So we'll just call this Lloyd's formula. And what we'll do is we'll start building my formula. So maybe I want to take a variable, which is going to be one of my columns, let's say the module 1 quiz, and I want to add to that, using an operator, another variable, which will be the module 4 quiz, and then I want to add an arbitrary mathematical value. I want to divide by, so I tap the divide button, and I tap value, and in here I could put just an arbitrary value, like something like 0.5 or something. And then when I tap save, it's going to test the formula for validity in terms of what constitutes a valid expression. And it's going to tell me up here whether that's valid or not. You can see you can open and close parentheses if you need to, if you've got a complex formula. The keys here are to take note of the fact that variables are always going to be columns in the Gradebook, including previous calculations that you may have made. If I click save now, it's going to say unmatched function variable or value, because I've added something here which is not in parentheses and has no operator between it to make sense of it. So this is not Blackboard now at this stage. This is just math and formula building. And if you're good in Excel, you'll be comfortable here. If you're not comfortable with Excel, you might struggle with this concept of building formula. So that's where your instructional designers or other colleagues might need to be brought in. We'll resave the expression now. So remember, variable is picking off pre-existing data in the Gradebook, whereas value are arbitrary numeric values that we can add into our calculation to arrive at the particular value that the syllabus requires or that the grading workflows require, whatever that may be. Okay, so I'm going to close that. And so now we have Lloyd's total and Lloyd's formula. And remember, if I want to move these around, what I'm going to do is come into the item view here, and I'm going to drag them up to the top of my gradebook view so that they're kind of where I want them visually in the overall gradebook experience. You can also add arbitrary text and items just for numeric values, to store numeric values, and that can be used for things like back office calculations that you might need to perform, but also can be used for gamification. If you want to put manual grade data against an item in the gradebook and then use that to trigger certain behaviors, certain adaptive pathways, treating student groupings in certain particular ways, and you can do that using items and text entries. And you can also add attendance as well. I don't know if that's something you do at Coldwell, but that can all be done inside of these manual columns that you create in the gradebook. Okay. Good. Let's see if there are any final questions. In my department, we have, says Megan, a 70% requirement for quizzes. There's also a final overall grade if they achieve 70% complies plus all group assignments. What is the best way to create that in this version? Oh,
yeah, you basically just answered that question. So we're good.
Okay, we're good. Great. Good. Excellent stuff. Okay. So a whistle-stop tour of the new grading workflows, the new grading interface in Blackboard, with multiple different ways to accommodate your preferences in terms of how you go about grading, whether it is using Blackboard to kind of surface suggestions to you that allow you to take action where it is perhaps we believe it's most needed based on the sequence of items that are coming in. Or you can use even this high-level view of activity on the activity page in order to surface where you take action. Or you have ultimately control over whether you prefer to apply your normal grading workflows. You can use filtering to improve the streamlined nature of those workflows, or you can just go column by column, cell by cell. You've got complete control here in terms of how you interpret this data and take action on it in order to be able to get your work done, provide students with what they need, and hopefully have a good experience in the course of teaching and learning in Blackboard. Just make sure I haven't missed up anything off the agenda. Oh, I have one final thing before we wrap up, and that's to do with student data. So just before we wrap up, just to mention that the student view of the gradebook is still here. If I tap on any one of these individual students, like Maria Mendes, for example, it shows me all of the data pertaining to that student. I can see the student's gradebook view. This is basically what it looks like for Maria, except these columns are hidden. That's why there's a slash against the item icon. I can see what progress Maria is making on different items within the course. I can make notes for sharing with faculty about interventions that we're taking. I can see an activity log to track individual interactions across the course over the course of her learning, and I can see how she is or isn't interacting with announcements as well. And then I've got some additional tools on the right-hand side here, which can allow me to surface even more data and take action on that data in case some intervention is required. So the student view of the data, if you've used the previous version of the Gradebook interface in Ultra, it's still here. It's just available by tapping on the student's name and bringing up this detailed view of the student record. I think that was the only thing I missed off from my list here. So I think that brings us to a nice close. Any final questions before we wrap up? You're very welcome, Marjorie. Thank you for being here. Lot of information. Obviously, the real business of learning comes when you start playing with this tool yourself. So I encourage you to do that as much as you can over the coming weeks. But thank you for being here. Thank you for all the wonderful questions, and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.